So during the month of July, we've been hyper-focused into recruiting, and because of that, we've talked about several institutions that have made big moves. But today, we need to talk about an institution that's been quietly raising up the board. But with today's edition, they have a strong argument that they have had the best month of July in terms of recruiting. And of course, we're talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide as they get in yet another five-star, this time five-star safety out the state of Georgia, the number one safety in the nation, and the number one player out the state of Georgia, Caleb Downs. We need to break down what this means for the Crimson Tide, what Caleb Downs brings to the table, and why this could be huge for this Crimson Tide recruiting class. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited that Caleb Downs joins the Crimson Tide recruiting class? And let me know the prospect you're watching closely. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. We're pushing towards 15,000 subscribers. We have an unbelievable community, and I would love to have you a part of this as we continue to grow. But having said all that, let's jump right into this, because it's not every day you get in a five-star prospect, but certainly not every day you get in a five-star prospect with the ability of Caleb Downs. Because Caleb Downs comes in as a top 15 player in all of high school football, regardless of position, coming in per 24/7 Sports Composite at number 12. And I have to admit, in my opinion, this is a top 10 player all day long. And when you watch the film, it's easy to identify why. There are several things Caleb Downs does at an incredibly elite level. First and foremost is just his athletic ability. He always is at the right place at the right time, and it's because he plays the game at a speed that the other people around him just aren't matching. That allows him to be able to get to the football and, more importantly, identify plays before they ever really develop. And that is a trait you either have or you don't. But this is a five-star safety that puts it together in an incredibly athletic package. But whenever you watch his film, you see how quickly he can identify things and go make a play. Not only in terms of run stuffing, but also in the passing game. He really doesn't have a weakness, because in several plays, he's coming up and laying huge hits, which here recently I've been talking about a lot. Those tone setters on your defense. Those are guys you love to have. Guys who can energize the entirety of that defense just by making a play, and Caleb Downs has that ability. He's a tone setter in the way he makes these hits, in the way he makes these plays, and how he identifies the plays. He's able to track guys down on the other side of the field and make a play, because before the play ever really got into its full-length development, he'd identified what was happening. I love that about his game. As I said, he's equally strong in run defense as he is in pass defense, and because of that, this is a prospect that I could see making an impact their freshman year. If we look at the Crimson Tide, Alabama is set to lose both safeties after this year to the NFL in Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms, because Alabama was very lucky to get them both back. They could have been NFL draft picks, no arguments from anybody in the past draft, but inevitably they come back and are going to help bolster that Alabama defense. But the prospect of playing time has got to be enticing, especially when you're as talented as Caleb Downs, because usually I'm up here saying, hey, I'm never surprised when these guys take some time to feel out the system, to get acclimated to the college game, and to have some time in the college strength and conditioning room. This is someone I could see playing early, because if you watch his tape, he's got all the ability you would like. What's more, and why I think this makes sense for the Crimson Tide: one, the prospect of playing time. We already talked about that with Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms. Two, Alabama had great news this offseason for a prospect that's not even on campus anymore in Minkah Fitzpatrick, as he became the NFL's highest paid safety. You know that has to resonate amongst recruits, and you know that's got to be something that Charles Kelly, Travaris Robinson, and Nick Saban are talking to about all these defensive backs, something that the Crimson Tide has been able to put out in troves to the NFL. But now we need to talk about the recruiters at hand, because Charles Kelly, Travaris Robinson, and Nick Saban are having an elite year in defensive back recruiting, as this is the third five-star defensive back to join the class. And Alabama is in a position, and in a very good position, for five-star defensive back top 5 player in the nation, Kermani McClain, the number 1 corner in the nation. But as the class currently sits, we need to look at it holistically, because Alabama now has 15 prospects and is now in the top 5 classes in all of high school football with the highest average recruit rank in the nation. And yes, I bring up 15 prospects because of the top 5 classes in the nation, Alabama not only has the highest average recruit rank, but has the fewest amount of commits. And when you look at the board and who's left to decide, this Alabama class could be sensational as it's already starting really strong. And with the addition of Caleb Downs, you now have 3 5-star defensive backs, the number 1 safety in the nation in Caleb Downs, the number 2 safety in the nation in Tony Mitchell, and a 5-star corner who rates as the number 2 corner in the nation, Jaleel Hurley. This Crimson Tide class is looking really strong, and we cannot undervalue the work the recruiters have done. Look, if we just focus in on the state of Georgia, we can see Alabama has put in immense work. Georgia's coming off of a national championship. We know that, but another thing we know about the Georgia Bulldogs, they recruit at the highest level in college football. Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, these are all teams that we always and consistently see fighting for that 1, 2, and 3 spot in the recruiting rankings. Nobody bats an eyelash when that's the order, in whichever order it may be. It just seems like that's been the normal and the status quo for quite some time. But in the year where Georgia's coming off of a national championship, Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide walk in the state and first pull a top 5 player in all of the high school football ranks in Georgia in Justice Haynes, the running back, who is not only a premier player in Georgia high school football, he's a legacy to the Georgia Bulldogs. They get him out of the state of Georgia, and then they go and get the number 1 player in all of Georgia, Caleb Downs, who I think is one of the best prospects in this class, one of the prospects that I could easily see making an impact his freshman year. He is that gifted. Caleb Downs has got a lot of ability you need to be excited about, but we always talk about ripple effects. What could the ripple effect for the Crimson Tide be in this circumstance? Well, I love where the Crimson Tide sit with Kermani McLean. It is going to be a battle as Miami is pushing very hard, and so is Florida. And if we look, being that he plays in the state of Florida, the Florida Gators have Corey Raymond. We know Corey Raymond, what he does in terms of defensive back recruiting. Anytime you see that name, you better perk up in your seat and take it as a real threat. He is that good at defensive back recruiting. But likewise at Miami, not only is Miami rolling really popular right now, they are on a roll. Mario Cristobal has them humming. They have a really solid cornerback coach as well in DeMarcus Van Dyke, and because of that, you cannot underestimate what Miami is going to do on the trail. But ultimately, I love the team of Nick Saban and Travaris Robinson against any recruiters in the nation. I truly do, and that's with all due respect to DeMarcus Van Dyke and Corey Raymond, as they have earned every ounce of respect from college football fans. But at the end of the day, this is a prospect, this is a commitment that could easily cause ripple effects. This could be a major spark for Alabama's class as prospects want to play with other very talented prospects. Could this mean that a Kermani McLean looks at Alabama's situation, sees that Alabama could finish up with the number 1 corner, number 2 corner in the nation, and the number 1 safety and the number 2 safety in the nation? That's going to be a very tough battle, but it's one I'm honed in on. Could a Richard Young all of a sudden look at the situation, see Alabama's recruiting class moving in the right direction, with several offensive line prospects committing to the class that I love, and then you look at a Caleb Downs also making his entrance into this class? That's exciting. This is the type of stuff that galvanizes other prospects and makes them excited about possibly making a decision. What a win for Alabama and Nick Saban, a class that was sitting on the outside of 30 this summer. I mean, for a large portion of this summer, and is now skyrocketed up to the number 5 class in the nation. This is why, whenever we'd be doing the lives, I'd consistently say, I'm not worried at all about Alabama recruiting. It's going to be just fine, just wait. And now we're seeing the fruits of the labor that Nick Saban, Travaris Robinson, Charles Kelly, and this staff have put in on the trail as they are having a fantastic class. Can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you think about this edition. That's it. See you.